And so they follow along there behind us. Perhaps we should give them away, since all we do is pull worms out of teeth. So we'll seem like children to Seven Macaw, even though we're giving you the instructions, the two boys told them. Very well, they replied. After that, they approached the place where Seven Macaw was in front of his home. When the grandmother and grandfather passed by, the two boys were romping along behind them. When they passed below the Lord's house, Seven Macaw was yelling his mouth off because of his teeth, and when Seven Macaw saw the grandfather and grandmother traveling with them, "Where are you headed, our grandfather?" said the Lord. We're just making our living, your lordship," they replied. "Why are you working for a living? Aren't those your children traveling with you?" "No, they're not, your lordship. They're our grandchildren, our descendants, but it is, nevertheless, we who take pity on them. The bit of food they get is the portion we give them, your lordship," replied the grandmother and grandfather. "Since the Lord is getting done in by the pain of his teeth, it is only with great effort that he speaks again. I implore you, please take pity on me. What sweets can you make? What poisons can you cure?" said the Lord. "We just pull the worms out of teeth, and we just cure eyes. We just set bones, your lordship," they replied. "Very well, please cure my teeth. They really ache every day. It's insufferable. I get no sleep because of them, and my eyes, they just shock me. Those two tricksters. Ever since it started, I haven't eaten because of it. Therefore, take pity on me. Perhaps it's because my teeth are loose now." "Very well, your lordship. It's a worm gnawing at the bone. It's merely a matter of putting in a replacement and taking the teeth out, sir. But perhaps it's not good for my teeth to come out, since I am, after all, a lord. My finery is in my teeth and my eyes. But then we'll put in a replacement. Ground bone will be put back in. And this is the ground bone. It's only white corn." "Very well, yank them out. Give me some help here," he replied, and when the teeth of Seven Macaw came out, it was only white corn that went in as a replacement for his teeth, just a coating, shining white, that corn in his mouth. His face fell at once. He no longer looked like a lord. The last of his teeth came out. The jewels that had stood out blew from his mouth, and when the eyes of Seven Macaw were cured, he was plucked around the eyes. The last of his metal came off. Still he felt no pain. He just looked on while the last of his greatness left him. It was just as Hanapu and Shiblank had intended, and when Seven Macaw died, Hanapu got his arm back, and Chimalmat, the wife of Seven Macaw, also died. Such was the loss of the riches of Seven Macaw. Only the doctors got the jewels and gems that had made him arrogant. Here on the face of the earth, the genius of the grandmother, the genius of the grandfather did its work when they took back their arm. It was implanted, and the break got well again. Just as they had wished the death of Seven Macaw, so they brought it about. They had seen evil in his self-magnification. After this, the two boys went on again. What they did was simply the word of the heart of Sky. From Part 3, Victory over the Underworld. And now we shall name the name of the father of Hanapu and Shiblank. Let's drink to him, and let's just drink to the telling and accounting of the begetting of Hanapu and Shiblank. We shall tell just half of it, just a part of the account of their father. Here follows the account. These are the names: 1 Hanapu and 7 Hanapu, as they are called. And 1 and 7 Hanapu went inside dark house. And then their torch was brought, only one torch, already lit, sent by 1 and 7 Death, along with a cigar for each of them, also already lit, sent by the lords. When these were brought to 1 and 7 Hanapu, they were cowering here in the dark. When the bearer of their torch and cigars arrived, the torch was bright as it entered. Their torch and both of their cigars were burning. The bearer spoke. They must be sure to return them in the morning, not finished, but just as they look now. They must return them intact, the Lords say to you. They were told, and they were defeated. They finished the torch, and they finished the cigars that had been brought to them. And Xibalba is packed with tests, heaps and piles of tests. This is the first one, the dark house, with darkness alone inside, and the second is named Rattling House, heavy with cold inside, whistling with draughts, clattering with hail. The deep chill comes inside here. And the third is named Jaguar House, with jaguars alone inside, jostling one another, crowding together and gnashing teeth. They're scratching around. These jaguars are shut inside the house. Bat House is the name of the fourth test, with bats alone inside the house, squeaking, shrieking, darting through the house. The bats are shut inside. They can't get out. And the fifth is named Fraser House, with blades alone inside. The blades are moving back and forth, ripping, slashing through the house. These are the first tests of Xibalba, but 1 and 7 Hanapu never entered into them, except for the one named earlier, the specific test house. And when 1 and 7 Hanapu went back before 1 and 7 Death, they were asked, "Where are my cigars? What of my torches? They were brought to you last night." "We finished them, your lordship." "Very well. This very day, your day is finished. You will die. You will disappear, and we shall break you off. Here you will hide your faces. You are to be sacrificed," said 1 and 7 Death. And then they were sacrificed and buried. They were buried at the place of ball game sacrifice, as it is called. The head of one Hanapu was cut off, only his body was buried with his younger brother. "Put his head in the fork of the tree that stands by the road," said 1 and 7 Death. And when his head was put in the fork of the tree bore fruit. It would not have had any fruit had not the head of one Hanapu been put in the fork of the tree. This is the calabash tree, as we call it today, or the skull of one Hanapu, as it is said. And then 1 and 7 Death were amazed at the fruit of the tree. The fruit grows out everywhere, and it isn't clear where the head of one Hanapu is. Now it looks just the way the calabashes do. All the Xibalbans see this when they come to look. The state of the tree loomed large in their thoughts, because it came about at the same time the head of one Hanapu was put in the fork. The Xibalbans said among themselves, "No one is to pick the fruit, nor is anyone to go beneath the tree," they said. They restricted themselves. All of Xibalba held back. It isn't clear which is the head of one Hanapu. Now it's exactly the same as the fruit of the tree. Calabash came to be its name, and much was said about it. A maiden heard about it, and here we shall tell of her arrival. And here's the account of a maiden, the daughter of a lord named Blood Gatherer. And this is when a maiden heard of it, the daughter of a lord. Blood Gatherer is the name of her father, and Blood Moon is the name of the maiden. And when he heard the account of the fruit of the tree, her father retold it, and she was amazed at the account. "I am not acquainted with the tree they talk about. Its fruit is truly sweet, they say, I hear," she said. Next she went all alone and arrived where the tree stood. It stood at the place of ball game sacrifice. What's the fruit of this tree? Shouldn't this tree bear something sweet? They shouldn't die. They shouldn't be wasted. Should I pick one?" said the maiden.